Yeah. Yeah. I know they mad for no reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Gotta move fast for a reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Oh, 700K, I'm selling on Bitcoin. Haters mad, but they listen to this one. More profit coming to my direction. Yeah, you know me, I don't need a mention. I got the remedy, ooh, yeah. They don't just follow me, ooh, yeah. You say allegedly, ooh, yeah. You would subscribe to me, ooh, yeah. Staring at chart, drawing a line. Make a decision, you out of time. Huddling, huddling, huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, huddling. I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. See on stage. On-chain revolution. Guns. Phone.
Welcome back to On-Chain Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire crypto markets. What is up, guys? Today's just one of those days, right? It's one of those days where you kind of just look yourself in the mirror and you say, what the hell am I doing in this crypto industry? What am I doing with my life? What am I doing, right? And you kind of think about, the stuff you could be doing. Right, I could be working a 9 to 5. Right, I could be doing research into boring stocks. I could be, doing dumb shit with the money, gambling it away. Right, but no, I'm investing in assets that I think are going to appreciate over time. I'm buying things that I think are going to be the new financial system. So when I'm thinking about the stuff, there is the points that come at you. They come quick. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But when you really think about it, and you really understand what crypto is and why you're here, the more and more it makes sense. These downtimes, Bitcoin under, just under 88, just under 90,000. I got down to like 88 a few minutes ago. Doesn't really matter, right? Because it's not about like timing the market. We're not here to say 89 was the bottom, 88 was the bottom. We're here for time in the market, right? How much time are you willing to spend in the market to make money? And that is the definition of crypto. That is the definition of what you should be doing right now. And a dollar cost average strategy is probably the best strategy out there, because if you have a 9 to 5 and you're making amount of money a week, and you take 10% of that and you're putting that into crypto over time, you get excited when Bitcoin drops to 89, right? Because you're able to get that cheaper that week. Obviously, your bag's red, right? I get it. We all get it. But over time, we're going to win. Crypto is going to be the leading sector in the entire financial institution. We're going to look back in 5 years and be like, wow, I'm so glad that I started working in crypto, that I started investing in crypto, that I'm just a part of a community that is in crypto. And I believe that we're all going to be very happy. Short term sucks, right? The only place I'm a king right now is Burger King, where I rule, right? It's just one of those things where there's going to be good days. There's going to be great days. There's going to be shit days, and there's going to be days that feel like this, right? Where it's just like, take your thought process, throw it out the window, pay attention to the news. So we have a lot of bullish news today to go over. I'm actually really excited to bring you guys. I think it's really going to put a smile on a lot of people's faces once you start digging in, a layer deeper, right? So let's just jump right into that. So without further ado, bring our partner here, as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's up, man? How you feeling today, bro?
Don't like to see below $90,000 Bitcoin, but here we are. Just trying to push through, right? That's the only option we have. I think as a cumulative whole, like with the industry, if you're a builder, content creator, just market participant, you're either going to quit completely or you're going to push through. And for us, there's no other option. We push through, right? I mean, it doesn't feel great, obviously. So, you know, kind of the title of our show here, is it really the bottom? Is Bitcoin's bottom? And I'm not so sure about that anymore, right? It seemed like maybe we did find a bottom, but we are kind of, you know, at that bottom area of where it bottomed, if you want to say that it did bottom on Tuesday, because it did wick down to these areas, right, to the low 89,000. We break down below that, then obviously it's going to search for a new bottom. But nevertheless, you know, we there's two options. I just posted on my X account here. One, right, you are going to, you know, zoom out and be like, okay, Bitcoin is crashing a bit here, but if you zoom out, you always see there's one direction it really heads. Or two, you try to find the underlining, you know, causes of why things aren't making sense in the market, right? And so a lot of times zooming out is just, you know, less stress, right? Because if you try to go and find what's going on exactly, you know, this is a new market infrastructure that's forming, right? So we're learning this cycle for sure. The cycle that I decided to go full time in the market, it changes, and so that's the frustrating part. I think for most people that have had experience previous cycles, they're like, okay, I already played, you know, last cycle. I know how the game works, and then the game just gets switched up on you.
Yeah, 100%. But one thing you said though, you know, especially about today's title, the bottom is in. I actually believe the bottom is in here, and I think markets love this thing called a double bottom. And what a double bottom is, it's very similar to, you know, up and down, sideways, right? What happens is you come down here, and then you immediately come back up, and you come back down again, and then you come back up. Usually what happens, this is a double bottom, before we enter, you know, back into this channel that we've been trading in here, going since 2023, right? So this is very similar to some stuff that, you know, we see in TradFi. This is very common in TradFi as well. Obviously, if you take a look at this, you know, we've had multiple, and I'll jump to the daily here, make it easier to see. We've had these crashes all the way back from 2023, since January of 2024, right? That's kind of when we had up in movement. And if you can see, we had one 30% crash, we had two 30% crash, and we've just seen our third, right? So which basically means that, you know, every bull market usually has 6, but we should see 3 more. So this should be right here, should be a bottom. You know, we've gone past this before, right, multiple times, so this is nothing new. And then we do bounce above it, and as you see right here, we have a double bottom here, right? If you zoom in here, we also had a double bottom, and I think we're about to get the same thing here.
Double bottom, as in the one that we're experiencing right now, or one more?
No, double bottom. This is the second part of it.
Gotcha. It's just really close together.
Well, yeah. I mean, on the hourly, yeah. So
yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah. I mean, you know, I think the 30% drawdown is what people are focusing on right now, right? You know, multiple times a cycle, you see that, and so it makes people feel okay, a little bit more safe, because we're about that 30% mark from, you know, that local top. And if that's the case, then yeah, this will be that third bottom that we're experiencing for this cycle, and we'll see if it does have this upward spring that some people are going to be expecting from that. I think there's a lot of people though that are looking at charts, and bears and bulls both, by the way, that are kind of like, we don't know, and then their bias kicks in a little bit, right? So for example, right now the bears are obviously on top, right? They're just kind of like, okay, you know, we're printing off of our shorts, all these things. But I think deep down, a lot of them still are, you know, kind of, you know, not 1,000% sure that we're going to go to like 70, right? So in their mind, they're probably just feeling really good, and they want it. So they're going to be, you know, posting about Bitcoin's crashing. This is the crash. We told you guys, and et cetera, et cetera. And then you have the opposite side of the coin, where, you know, obviously the bulls don't want that to happen. And the bulls are using what they, you know, find in terms of analytics and stuff, and historical patterns, to say, hey, look, I mean, we have that 30% drawdown multiple times a cycle. So we're just experiencing that. So, either way, we're gonna find out who's right here in the next month and a half, I think, right? And we'll see how December is. Man, that would be such a shame if December was just like a depressing month for the space.
Yeah,
but I'm ready for anything at this point.
100%. Well, speaking of depressing, remember this chart? Remember this thing we usually looking at? So,
Sure do.
as you can see, we had a negative 3% in October, negative 16% now in November. Last time we seen this, right? We saw a negative 3% here, 36% in November, and then a 5%. But this was a bear market year, technically, right? So, what do you think, man? Do you think is there any possibility of us turning green in November, or just chalk it up as red at this point?
There's people that do TA and that have their own charting shows and stuff that have called for like the end of November the turnaround being, depending on how aggressive that is, right? But I think we're pretty deep right here. We're about 16.5%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I were to put a poly market bet in, I would say we would probably stay red. But that does give me some hope about December, because I can't see like having 3 in a row red months like that. And if you look at 2018, I mean, it was a bear market year. You can see there was only 3 green months, and that's what's so different about this year in 2025. I mean, you look at it, people are like, okay, well, we're just pushed. It is a bear market year, really, but it's not. You can't compare the two. I mean, they're totally different. You're looking at 6 green months with some pretty strong months of Bitcoin, topping, right? And then 2018 was just really mostly red. So how does it play out? We can't even say it's really that full post halving bull market year either, because of the way it's been ending here, right? So far, we still have a month to kind of prove us wrong. But if you compare it to like 2021, there's 3 out of the last 4 months were red. And that's unfortunate, because you can see that that means December might be red, right? And then you go back to 2017, which was completely different, and you had 3 out of the 4 that were green. So do we get kind of a balance in between, and maybe we get a green December? Hopefully, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, for sure. And most people are comparing this to 2019, right, when it comes to liquidity conditions, because we're technically just getting out of quantitative tightening and stuff like that. So a lot of people are saying it's very similar to this year. And if you look at this year compared to this year, right, it's almost very similar. We did have this run right here, but we also had this run right here, right? And we have this bearish momentum here. It's kind of what we're experiencing now, whether it's it's mixed in here and there. But this was a very half green, half red year. And I mean, you can say the same thing about here, right? But it's just broken up. It's red, it's green, red, red, green, 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 red, green, red, red, and then potentially red. I don't want to see it that way, but it's just frustrating.
Yeah, and that chart that WebDro brought up yesterday, the 3-month chart. I mean, if look there, that's been a very consistent pattern. 1 out of 3 months. So it's a red quarter followed by 2 green quarters, and we're in the red quarter candle. And so, that doesn't mean that December can't be green, by the way. December can be green. And it would make sense for December to be green, considering we're at like 89K, because if we got back to like 105, that's still a green month for December, depending on obviously how we end the last week of November, week and a half. But then that month, that 3-month candle in that chart stays red though, right? And then so I think that doesn't that seem like a likely scenario though? It's like that candle probably stays red for the quarter, and then but December itself probably going to be green.
Yeah, this is what you're talking about, right? Red, green, green, red, green, green, red, green, green, red. So we could see touches, but what WebDro did say, like I think you just said it too. But we have to finish January, like December 31st. this candle.
Yeah. To see new all-time highs. Highs, which I'm actually starting to agree with that, because it makes sense, right? But that doesn't mean December can't be a green month, which I think it will be. That even if we get to 100K or whatever, depending on obviously how the last week of November goes. It's going to be really important to see how that last week finishes off November. But yeah, so there could be some scenarios to where, December is green, but this is going to stay red, in my opinion. And then we have those 2 months, and January could be that month where we kick it up. So the energy could actually be stirred up in December, but we won't really see it quarter-wise until Q1 of or Q5 is what people are saying. Q1 of 2026.
Yeah, I started looking at WebJoe's chart, and I actually went into I think it was a Dow Jones, where same thing. Like, you know what I mean? It was like green, green, red, green, green, red, green, green, red, green, green, red. So Bitcoin's really just kind of following the Dow Jones right now. Obviously, back here it was different, but this is from 2022, 23. But as of the 2023, of Jan, I think it just starts January. So this is 2023. You saw green, green, red, green, green, red, green, green, red, green, green, red. Right, very similar to Bitcoin, and it feels like they're all kind of like that. I mean, Nasdaq's a little different, and the ES is different as well. But Bitcoin and Nasdaq seem to be on the same trajectory.
Yeah, and you said it earlier this year that Bitcoin's kind of been thrown into that category with the indexes, right? And so it makes sense that they're following that same pattern. But from a macro perspective, we got to really start considering that a lot more. And we haven't before, because the post-halving year typically is the liquidity injection year, and this year is like the 2019, right? So we'll see if maybe we play into pushing it back, like with the whole COVID, those debt, what was it, extensions, right? Push back a year, so that pushes our cycle back a year, maybe. So some of this stuff seems like it could be getting put together like a puzzle and make more sense soon.
Yeah, 100%. Shut the guy, Ryan Boland's here. He said, "Big bounce coming. Let's go." He said, "Subscribe, like, and share. Let's all learn together in right place." My guy, I love Ryan, man. Appreciate you guys. Always thank you. Great stuff, right?
Appreciate
I agree.
you.
Yeah, 100%. He says, "November is not over yet. If you ask me, I'm still bullish. Come on and pump it up." I love Ryan, man. He gives you that bullishness in here. Shout out Superfan and Chief Axel. Appreciate you guys as well. Tough to be in crypto right now, but you guys, man, you guys are here every single day. I really appreciate it. But there is some, reasons to be bullish today, right? The Bitcoin demand for accumulator addresses hits all-time high. These addresses are only buy and never sell. So I actually have a chart here, and the accumulation by some of these large whales. And a lot of people come out and tell you, like, hey, like the whales are selling. But there's wallets that only accumulate Bitcoin, and those wallets right now have, they're at all-time high. They're all-time high accumulation. They're actually, look at this. Throughout the entire year, this is the number one spot that they've been accumulating. So it's pretty crazy. And these are wallets that have never sold one Bitcoin, have only accumulated through the last 4 or 5, 10 years.
Wow. Yeah. So these accounts right now, are they continually accumulating right now?
They've never accumulated more.
At this point, we're hitting a peak, basically.
Well, they've been just, they're just buying and buying and buying and buying. They're nonstop.
So you'll have like a random one-off person that has had, been holding forever, like that one guy. But from one, so this is the group that has basically not really sold anything for that long of a time.
They've added 375,000 Bitcoin in the last, I want to say, their last 30 days.
Gotcha.
So it's like retail, the people who hold 1, 2, 3 Bitcoin, they're selling to these guys that are just constantly accumulating. And whether this is Fidelity, whether this is America, you just don't know.
Sailor,
these wallets, right? Could be Sailor. Yeah, Sailor's probably in there. He's never sold one Bitcoin, right? So it's like, once you sell one Bitcoin, you end up leaving this, right? But these are the accumulators. But yeah, I thought that was kind of bullish. So we just talked about how Bitcoin is trading like a tech stock, right? So we're kind of rooting for tech stocks, right? So Alphabet stock, Google, surges up 5% and hits $300 a share for the first time in history after announcing Gemini 3. And the world is looking at NVIDIA's earning report today at around 4:30, between 4 and 4:30 today Eastern time. NVIDIA is expected to report $54 billion in revenue backed by booming AI. So you're seeing AI push Google to all new highs. You're seeing AI push NVIDIA, and with Bitcoin kind of trading like a tech stock, I'm actually personally thinking Bitcoin's bottoms in today as double bottom, and then we push up with the tech stocks that are going to be pushing up later today.
Yeah, and one thing I think that like is so different this cycle is like you said, Bitcoin kind of aligns with those indexes or like the tech stocks, right? Like NASDAQ and stuff like that, much more now. But if you remember back, in 2021 when the kind of newer risk on tech stocks took off, that could be like an indicator for us, right? Let's say that Nvidia reports like strong numbers, we get liquidity injection, those stocks will probably initially see the benefit of that, and then it trickles down because now we have more liquidity that's flowing, news of the economy getting more stabilized, stuff like that. Then you'll hear about these tech stocks people starting to invest in those. And I think that's right around the time that like these alts will probably thrive, right? So we got to pay more attention to that side as well. And I'm talking to the audience and us and everybody in our industry, because we're more aligned with TradFi than ever. You know what I mean? And so that's something I'm going to be looking at, that sector, that tech stock sector. Obviously, I'm looking at liquidity flow in, rates being cut, quantitative easing. And there's some global news right now that's kind of, going against things. But remember, the United States was not cutting rates whenever, England was, or, other countries, right? In Asia, we're also starting to cut and stuff like that. Japan's preparing for a stimulus. What are we going to be doing on our side? Because we're kind of not on the same timeline as everybody necessarily.
100%. It's kind of just like we're just kind of waiting for something to happen. But we'll see. There is some stuff though that is happening. President Trump says massive rate cuts should still happen in December. So Trump came out and he said, hey, Poly Market, all these other places, like I'm still expecting huge, not just a quarter. I'm expecting huge, rate cuts, right? But you take a look at Poly Market. We've seen a surge today because of that, up 7%, now back to 53%. Going into yesterday, this was at like 51, 52%. So this is down 5% here from Poly Market. And then Trump to decide the next Federal Reserve chairman before Christmas. So he said he'll have his pick in. Everyone's leaning towards Fed Waller or something else. But I think Trump is waiting for the meeting on the 10th. I think it's December 10th. December 10th, which is about 21 days from right now. And I think he's going to hold that ahead to them. Like, hey, you push for a half point. Whoever pushes for a half point gets the job. I don't know. That's what it feels like to me, because he is waiting. After Christmas would be, we're not going to see the last time before next year. So it's just one of those things where I don't know. We could see a cut, and it's not baked in. The cut is not baked in at all right now.
Yeah, because it's kind of going back and forth, right? So it would be like one of those good surprises, right? Because I think most people actually are assuming that we're not going to get one because of the tone that Powell used last time and the words that he actually used. But dangling this over their heads is funny, right? It seems like he's kind of waiting to the last minute to decide and say, hey, who's going to make me the happiest president right now? But at the end of the day, it's not just the rate cut. Obviously, that is going to help, right, in terms of getting into a different mentality. But also, what does QE look like, or finishing up QT December 1st? And are they going to get aggressive by transitioning into QE quickly? What does that whole situation look like, right? I mean, you've mentioned typically there's a pause in between, and then they decide how they're going to approach it if they go into QE, when that will be. But 2026 seems to be honestly really where a lot of this kind of major changes and transitions are going to be happening in the early part of it, and hopefully we benefit from that.
Yeah, and the last pause was December. It was 2 months. It was December of 2021 and January of 2022. Before February, they started cutting heavily. I'm sorry, they started raising rates heavily, or they started entering quantitative tightening in February of 2022. Right, so it's kind of like, is there 2 months of a pause before they start entering quantitative easing? There's like history repeat again. But who really knows?
It could do, and it could do the opposite a bit, right? Because like you said, 2021, December of 2021 was when that first weekly candle formed underneath the 50-week SMA. So you take 2 months after that, and that's kind of when things really started to go into the bear market. It could do the opposite here. You know, we could be, you know, going into the pause, and then 2 months later, things get really aggressive to the risk on side. We don't know what's going to happen, right? But it's at least something interesting to look into and anticipate.
Yeah, 100%. So there is some bad news though. Trump's WLFI is facing a Senate probe over token transfers to wallets tied to North Korea, Russia, Iran. The report highlights links to Lazarus Group, a Russian ruble tool, and Iranian exchange. So yeah, they're not great there. But Zach XBT came out and said, you know, let's do a bit of napkin math. For the World Liberty Financial Token sale, 550 million was raised. Warren and Rees accused 10K of being raised by illicit sources. That's only 0.0018 of the token sale. So he's basically saying here, yeah, there might have been that, but it's like 0.0018 of that was bought by these North Korea, Russian, and Iran. Yeah. Warren previously claimed she was a Native American. Test results estimated she was 0.19. At least she's consistent when it comes to incorrectly stating things are statistically significant. So he's basically saying here that, like, okay, that is true. I checked on chain, but it's 0.0018 of the token set.
Yeah. So basically, it was just kind of they got through somehow and were able to purchase, you know, that much, which is a very, very small amount.
Or some people are saying, you know, it was people just putting their that wallet address in there to make it feel like it was like, you know, someone coming in there and just saying, hey, this is my wallet address, because you don't have to like sign your wallet. You can put any address that you want for the pre-sale, right? You have to KYC yourself, and then you just put the wallet address. But yeah, I'm sure they know who did that, right? So
yeah. So to kind of give it a bad look, right? So yeah, that's another thing too. They can trace it back, you know, the WLFI side of things. So it's not like it's a gotcha moment, but she seems to, like, you know, try to thrive on those, which she's all theatrics, in my opinion, right? That's just kind of how she, you know, has always carried her political career. So not anything that I'm worried about.
Yeah, she was the head of the anti-crypto army. I mean, she was saying she basically came out, and her biggest mistake was kind of saying the secret stuff out loud, right? Like, I mean, that's how crazy it was in 2023 and 2022, was like these people were just coming out and saying this industry is terrible, there's nothing good about it, and it had an anti-crypto through the whole entire system. They shut down banks that were working with crypto. It's absolutely insane. Like, there's gonna be a book one day, and people are gonna be like, wow, that is crazy. You know what I mean? About how hard they went after a financial institution tool at the end of the day. That's what blockchain is. It's crazy. But I got some good news as well. The crypto market structure bill has a good chance to pass before the end of the year, says Brian Armstrong. And this is actually kind of important. So I'm going to play this for a second. Let me get this up real quickly. So Brian Armstrong was at Capitol Hill yesterday, and he had some things to say here. So let me just make sure my volume is up. We should be good.
Hey everyone, Brian Armstrong, Coinbase CEO here. I'm in the halls of Congress, back again, pushing for market structure legislation. We've seen a lot of progress since I was last here. We've now seen draft text shared by the Senate Ag Committee. Senate Banking is also working nights and weekends to get the next iteration of their text out. So we've got a good chance, I think, of a markup for this bill in December, hopefully get it to the president's desk shortly thereafter. This would be a big milestone to get crypto unlocked with clear rules in the US, which would benefit all companies. But of course, Coinbase wants to be a top crypto company, so we're working hard on product in the meantime as well. And December 17th, we've got our product event, which you can tune in on the live stream to see everything we've been building in the second half of this year. Thanks all of you for continuing to show up and contact your representatives and keep pushing for clear rules for crypto in the United States. We will keep doing our part here as well to try to make it happen. Thanks so much.
So he's one of the people that, you know, are constantly there. He's constantly going there. He's making sure that the right things are put in there. Senator Tim Scott actually came out and said, basically repeated him. He said, could move out on a crypto market structure bill in December. So we have Tim Scott coming out. We have Brian Armstrong, who's on the ground floor. They're all saying a crypto market structure bill is coming. My question for you is, is this a big deal? And is this already kind of baked in?
I think it's a big deal for infrastructure, obviously, and new startups, right? People that have ambition to create a new startup company in Web3, they feel probably safer. But this being out there, knowing the rules and that sort of thing. In terms of the Web3 natives and crypto Twitter, not really, because we are who we are type of situation, right? But for the new participants, which is very much important, this is a big deal. I do believe that. So more of a long-term, kind of mid to long-term effect, I believe it's going to have. But he's given me Lex Luthor vibes a bit. Armstrong is. Hopefully he doesn't have the same type of personality as Lex Luthor, and he tries to do good rather than evil.
Bald is beautiful, bro. I'll be there soon. I can feel it, but I don't know. I am glad the right people. He seems to be a good person. I think we both can agree on that. And the right people are there trying to do the right thing. Yeah, obviously he wants Coinbase to succeed, but I don't think he's willing to like destroy to at the he's not like a Steve Jobs where he's just trying to destroy everything just to make sure that his company is the best. I feel like he's just doing all the right things here to kind of move crypto in the right direction.
Yeah, well, I think those were a little bit different situations though. Like Steve Jobs' industry was very hot and the government loved it and all those things versus wait till I think Web3 and crypto gets normalized and we'll see who the real kind of dogs are out there, right? Because they're going to be trying to they already are competitive to be who's on top of the mountain, but right now they're like, hey, we got to have a mountain to be on top of. But once that mountain's formed, they're going to be fighting each other. I truly believe that, and it's going to be the passive aggressive way, just like how the tech industry was, right? They don't say it just straight out.
No,
but
Steve Jobs said it straight out. He posted a picture of the BlackBerry and said, "What's wrong with this phone?" And then he pointed to the QWERTY keyboard, right? And then he popped up the iPhone and that was the end of the BlackBerry. Like that day.
I heard some conspiracy breakdown about BlackBerry's failure, though. It was more of kind of the powers to be not selecting them to kind of be. Obviously, they had a different type of interface. We know that, but they could have easily they did actually go to smartphone touch screen and stuff like that. But the tech industry, money moves everything, and maybe that was part of it. They weren't kind of selected to be that winner. But I think Web3 is a bit different because we were formed outside the government, supposedly.
Well, there's a movie called BlackBerry. Highly recommend it. And at the end of BlackBerry, the original founder, he basically says, no, the QWERTY keyboard is the direction we need to go. He was the problem because he just wouldn't let them go to a full touchscreen. His phone needed to have the QWERTY keyboard, and he was obviously the reason why the company did so well, but he was also the catalyst reason why BlackBerries aren't being used anymore.
That's crazy because they were so
who
powerful.
Bought BlackBerry? You know who owns BlackBerry?
Apple?
Tesla.
Really?
Yeah.
Not shocked.
They're using the technology inside the cars that they created. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Ryan Boland says everyone is counting on Bitcoin and crypto for Xmas, and we have a down December. It could be a catastrophic. Honestly, I am depending on crypto. That's me. You just mentioned me. He said, we will stay believing in and hodl tight. We already got our positions. Don't let anyone shake you out. Time in the market is better than 100%. I love you, Ryan. He said, yes, vetting it on December. My guy Albert Amari, he said something nice about me. He said,
wait, hold on a second. Look at you cheesing, bro.
Finally, bro. Finally.
He's happy with you, Albert. He's happy with you.
He says, me and Chizzy actually agree on a lot of things. Like, for example, we agree that the top is going to be around 2028, 2029. The only thing we don't agree on is 2026 being bullish. Yeah, I think I'm so I don't know if I would say.
Well, you said first quarter and a half. Well, first quarter and a half, and then
sell and main go away DCA in September. That's kind of how I do think that 2028 is going to be a left translated cycle, which means I think around the halving is going to be the top of next cycle. I don't think we're going to get the following year is going to.
That's going to be weird too, man. The halving, because this halving we played it and experienced it like the previous halvings, but this next halving, I don't think people are going to look at it the same way. You know what I mean? No. So that's going to be an interesting time period.
I think we're going to get a left translated cycle, which I think, we're barely going to have a bear market at all this cycle. And I think, we're going to go right into the next halving, and then 2029, 2030 being absolutely like almost recession, like absolutely like insane. I think that's going to be crypto's 1999 moment, where it's just like everything just like completely falls apart. But I do think it's going to take until 2030 before that happens. I'm expecting 90% drops on a lot of coins going into 2030, but I think at least the next 4 years, while it's growing and becoming something exciting and being the next new thing, it's being the internet, right? I think that it's every credit card is going to be using stable coins. Like, I think the next 4 years will be very exciting for it, but I do think we're going to see a recession in like 2029, 2030. That's going to be bad.
Yeah, I mean, well, we got 4 years out from here, right?
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the December thing that Ryan Boylan. Yeah, that would be very sad, because like even in the non-bull run year, like the holiday spirit, like in our space, like we did like special like episodes or whatever, right, in the past. So it would be really depressing. Imagine if Bitcoin was just crashing the entire month of December. Like, I don't know if there could be a worse morale situation if that were to happen. Now, Bitcoin doesn't have to be like on this runner to like 180 or 200, but having a rebound from November, especially if we don't get any type of rebound in the last week of November, I think is almost like absolutely necessary for December. Like getting back over 100K, 105. If not, it could be really like depressing for that month. And then the second thing I'll say with Albert Amari's situation, first of all, I think you guys do agree on that, except for a little bit of the earlier parts of 2026 is where the disagreement might be. But one thing Shizzy and I were talking about before the show today, in fact, was there's always, like, especially whenever like you get into like this kind of depression type, despair, the markets and stuff, there's always going to be an opportunity somewhere. And I know this past year, it's really been hard to spot that. I mean, they're really, if you were to really look hard, it was obviously the first half of 2025 in Solana. You had to take advantage of those, when Fartcoin launched, those type of times, because after Trump, the liquidity was just, after the Trump coin, liquidity was really just kind of just, not really there,
gone,
right?
It was wiped out.
Exactly, right. But there was a couple plays, right? Fartcoin, stuff like that, the Annie token when Bonk took over, but it was really hard to time those and stuff. But the point that I'm making is 2023, right? Like the whole Bitcoin ordinal space happened because new innovation. And, if we had experienced what we went through this time for 2023, I think many people would have played that differently, because it wasn't the bull run year. It was kind of out of nowhere. But look for where that comes from in 2026 or 2027. Where are those spots going to be? Because there's going to be something that's different, that's exciting. Not just trading meme coins, but maybe it has to do with meme coins, but something's going to be exciting. It's going to be innovative, and it might have to do with TradFi too, doing something. But just look out for it, because there's going to be something like that.
Yeah, 100%. Like, to your point, we were in a bear market. Everywhere was suffering through a bear market, but ordinals were going through a bull market, right? Solana meme coins are going through a bull market, right? So it's like you can find a bull market anywhere you look. Maybe if you're on Avalanche, you're like, I didn't see a bull market for 5 years. But if you're on Solana, you're like, oh, wow, we've had like 3 bull markets since 2021. Like, what are you guys talking about? You know what I mean? So like, it's kind of like you just got to find. And right now, people that have been in privacy for the last 3 months are like, what are you guys talking about? Like, I'm up a lot. You know what I mean? So it's like, you just got to find it. You got to find it. And we're going to be the ones that find it this next time. Or we're going to find the next sector that's going to explode. I feel it. All right. Shout out to Ryan Bolin, man. Appreciate you. He said, awesome channel right here. Subscribe, everyone. Ryan, absolutely amazing, man. I really, really appreciate that, man. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So speaking of Coinbase, Coinbase is developing a prediction market platform backed by Kalshi via screenshots shared by researcher Jane Manchun Wong. So Jane is absolutely awesome. I don't know how she got this website. Oh, I don't have my screen shared. I don't know how she got this website, but she got all these screenshots. So she had access to this website or whatever. So she was on here, and this is what it's going to look like. You're going to go to Coinbase, put prediction markets. They're going to have their own front end. They're using Kalshi's back end, but they're going to be adding liquidity for Kalshi as well. So they're going to be like pushing a lot of these bets and stuff like that when it comes to liquidity. So that's kind of cool to see. And then she posted Coinbase is working on stock trading as well. And then you go to her channel, you see it's pretty funny. She said Coinbase predictions is no longer publicly accessible after my initial scoop after their upcoming feature.
Does she work for Base?
That was funny. I don't know what she does. I think she's just a reporter. The woman scooping Silicon Valley. She's just a reporter. Yeah, for BBC.
That's
British
funny.
Broadcasting. Yeah.
Dude, I actually think Kalshi had such a good opportunity because of Polymarket.
Yeah.
You know, Polymarket started building with like on Polygon, right? It's obvious in the name too. But they were invested in years ago. I want to say 2023, maybe. I might have gotten the year wrong, but some around that time period. And whenever predictions markets became a big thing, obviously the election 2024, like Kalshi was like, they basically had their pick of the litter in terms of what chain they want to work with, what, you know, because like Polymarket is obviously Polygon. Now they're going to branch out, I'm sure, and go on other EVM chains and stuff like that and be other places. But like sometimes, you know, it's better to be second or, you know, be the one that isn't talked about as much in the beginning. Similar situation was Yahoo and Google. You know, Yahoo was first. Yahoo, I remember back in the day, you know, Yahoo was the main search engine. Eventually, you know, they went the ads route. They, you know, they had big investors that wanted to push them to, hey, you got to get revenue from ads, and they pushed that hard. Google was like, no, we're not going to do that. We want to be a search engine. We'll figure that out later, which they did, and Google ended up winning. So I'm not saying Kalshi is going to win this kind of race between these two. I think if you're one of the top two, you're in a good spot regardless. But partnering with Coinbase is huge, especially you know, the amount of you know, impressions and you know, just exposure, right, that the Coinbase app is going to give people. So,
and what makes Kalshi different is Kalshi was American like born, right? Like it was the, you know, they didn't do the Polymarket way where they blocked US customers and stuff like that. They said, hey, we're going to go by all the rules that are available, that all the rules that DraftKings, that all the other places follow. We're going to follow all these KYC rules and everything. And they went strictly for the US. And I think Coinbase picking them goes about, like, that is the reason why they chose Kalshi over Polymarket, right? I think they had the, you know, the pick of the litter, and they chose Kalshi because I think that, you know, it follows all the rules, and it's always followed all the rules of, you know, the U.S. government. So if we do end up getting like a Democratic, you know, president in the future or whatever it is, I think Kalshi will be one that they don't have no bad laundry. There's nothing they've done. They've never been attacked by Elizabeth Warren, for instance, right? One thing that, so I want to ask you. So my brother recently, we were talking, and he said, he was like, yeah, it's like, what's the difference between a prediction market or like DraftKings? And the only thing I could think of was prediction markets are PvP, player versus player, right? It's you don't go against the house at all. While DraftKings and stuff like that in like casinos, you're playing the house, right? You're playing the casino, right? So is there anything I'm missing there when it comes to the difference between the two?
It also makes the bets kind of different. Now you can do the spread bets still on Polymarket, right? But you know, yeah,
there's still PvP.
Everybody's
right?
money is everybody's money is you know, involved. That's betting one way or another, and there's multiple options that you can bet and stuff like that. I feel like it's closest to prop betting. But you know, still like with the books, you're betting against the house with the prop bets, right? But it's a different way of doing things, right? It's decent, you know, it is decentralizing kind of the sports book, right? Which the books hate. They absolutely hate it. You know, Vegas had told I think it was DraftKings and FanDuel, if you guys add predictions markets, you're out of here. You're out of the strip. They said, we're leaving anyways, and they left. Right, so they left. They were just like, we see the future, and the future isn't here on the strip in Vegas. You know what I mean? And so
from your phone, from your hotel.
The one thing I will say though is that the people that usually do sports betting, for them to for you to transition like a good part of that market, you need a very simple UI to where they're not confused. Like your brother probably, I don't know if he's gone on Polymarket or anything like that.
He didn't know the difference. He said, why?
I was actually thinking about it before you brought that situation up, and I was like, you know, like the thing is that everybody's comfortable with what they're comfortable with, right?
Yeah.
And that is using your phone, getting on DraftKings, placing a bet that Alabama's going to beat such and such by 7 points or whatever, right?
Exactly.
If you can have that similar section on Polymarket to where that doesn't change much, then you can have them jump on. Because what they're having a lot of new people that weren't even doing sports betting jump on Polymarket and Kalshi. The people that are just like, oh, this can kind of be like an easy side thing for me, because it's like everything. You're talking about pop, sports, political, anything that's happening in the world, right? So that's the biggest difference. But I do think that they take over. And the fact that they're spending money on the NHL and eventually NFL and NBA, unless they have exclusive contracts with DraftKings and stuff, once those contracts expire, I'm sure they're going to be able to outbid them. But we'll see how they take over that part of the their industry as well.
Yeah, 100%. And like, we don't have to worry about like the books being cooked anymore. Like Vegas is robbing people, you know what I mean? Like, and that type of stuff, because I mean, obviously there's still going to be a little bit of it, right? When it comes to the people put $1 million bet on it and there's like, hey, make sure you get hurt in this game and stuff like that. We're still going to see stuff like that. But like, I don't know. I feel like I do like PvP better than PvE, like when it comes to the gambling.
Well, I think there's certain situations, right, that it's going to be harder to manipulate, right? I think Jay Powell for the first 6 months, that was a layup for most people, right? It was like Polymarket didn't. I think the highest they had was 60%, but it retraced pretty quickly. Most of them were like 30%, maybe 40, but then it retraced pretty quickly. So I think a lot of people made a lot of money on Jay Powell not cutting rates before September, right? But then the sports part, or there's going to be some probably heavy manipulation politically, because now both parties realize that Polymarket has an effect here where people believe it's going to go one way or the other, and so they want to kind of brainwash the masses by pushing it one way. We actually saw some of that, actually, in my opinion, this past election, to where it just kept swinging a bit until one point where it was pretty obvious, right? I think that was maybe with like 3 weeks left or something.
Yeah. And like the last part of this was the Coinbase working on stock trading. Pretty massive in my opinion. I think this screenshot, one of these screenshots right here. No, it wasn't it. But yeah, so they're working now they're doing stocks. So soon you'll be able to buy Microsoft just the same way you buy Bitcoin. Pretty crazy. So all right. Let's go get into the Bitcoin price action and crypto bubbles here. So every day we like to take a deep dive into what is happening. Oh, I don't like seeing 89, bro. I don't like seeing it. I know you're gonna be really bearish in this. Gonna hurt my soul.
I mean, I just am going off of what I'm seeing.
I know.
Another fake out, but yep. All right, guys, before we get into the Bitcoin price action, help us out like you always do, and we appreciate you for that. Smash that like on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on, all that great stuff. On X, let's share the space, get as many people in here as possible. Shout out to the people over on Pump Fun Stream, Zora, Rumble, Kick, all of the platforms there. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. But let's jump into some price action here. And it's hard, man. Days like today is really hard, because I'll tell you, before this kind of, let me make sure I got the right one there. Before this fake out, like, I definitely would have felt like we were about to close this up here. But you can see on the hour chart for Bitcoin, right? It looked like the MACD was exhausted and we were switching. It actually even touched. You see the fast line and the slow line here. The blue line is the fast line. It touched. And when those touch, it's the technical switching of momentum, right? But that just really just got reversed out of nowhere. And then you start to see just this complete bleed out is what it best way for me to explain it. And it looks aggressive, right? I mean, you see now, like, it wants to point downwards. You can see that, we're kind of where we were when we wicked down on Tuesday. Well, I'll say Monday night for me, and Tuesday at 12 a.m., I guess, Central Time. But we're kind of at this local low area here. And it's not just a wick necessarily, right? We've established some of this candle mostly down, right? And so we'll see if this continues to bleed down. You know, if you were to ask me to put my best guess, I would say we're probably going to break down below 89, honestly. But you know, I didn't expect this to completely do a 180 right here, right? So anything could happen, but that is what it looks like to me, guys. You know, I don't even think like bringing the support and resistance in here is going to really matter too much in terms of data, because you know you can see it's just really lopsided with the resistance, and this is low volume, obviously, right? You can see that these are really small bars right here, but it is dominated all the way, you know, up until this local highest volume area is dominating everything down here. And it does balance out when you get below here a little bit, but you're talking about all these different price levels, right? Or at least like the nearest, like, you know, probably I would say maybe like $4,000, right? It is still kind of losing to that resistance there. So yeah, this is where we are, guys. 89,400 right now on the hour chart. I would say probably not financial advice at all, but expect probably further bleed out here. But I've been wrong whenever I felt like I was so right. So maybe it does the opposite. We'll see. And then the 4 hour, we just started this sell pressure, as you know. So this is kind of, it's not super aggressive on the 4 hour though yet. So you know, we get to 88, 87, something like that, we'll start to see a larger candle here on the MACD. But yeah, same kind of thesis right here, right? We just started a sell pressure session on the 4 hour. Let's take a look at the daily here. If it wants to load up. Oh, no, this is a 3 month. Let me pull up the daily here. Doop, doop. Okay, again, you know, yesterday I was a little bit happy about the daily chart because I said, looks like we want to break down the sell pressure. You know, I already got my heart broken here on the daily chart with Bitcoin when it completely faked out. And then this one wasn't as bad because, you know, it wasn't looking like it was even close to being done, but you have to start somewhere. And that's how I felt about this. Now we are back into sell pressure. So yeah, you know, we got to wait until this breaks down, right? So we probably have some days, if not a week, of this, you know, getting broken down if it does change direction, and then filling Ethereum. Wow. So that's Bitcoin for you guys. And Ethereum is below $3,000. And you see here on the hour chart, this is aggressive to the downside. And then the 4 hour chart, similar to Bitcoin, just kind of getting started there. Daily, same situation, I'm sure. You know, yeah, you know, we got to wait till this breaks down. But yeah, so that's Bitcoin, Ethereum for you guys. Let's kind of see where we find our footing for Bitcoin, and then we can really reestablish and kind of get a little bit of a reset, hopefully. This was looking decent earlier today. Now it just looks like a massacre, right? And I feel like I'm like telling the news. I'm like on the evening news, and it's all like this person died and this person, like, it's like, I'm sorry, this is just kind of what's happening in the markets right now, right? You're looking at like a 98% to 2% ratio here. Starknet, though, hey, the holders of Starknet, you guys can celebrate probably pretty alone today. Mix as well, which is a perps DEX on BSC, but everything else is you're looking at 4 to 6% pullback. You know, some of these privacies getting hit a little bit harder because they've had a couple of weeks, if not a month, of pretty strong push up here. But yeah, everything is down. That's pretty obvious. And the top 200, same thing.
That kind of reminded me of like anytime I have the news on in my house, my voice is, "Why do you watch this shit?" I was like, "Well, I just learned that Marcus Smith died." Like, I don't know who that is, right? But it's kind of like the similar thing. It's like it's so hard to see this shit. It's like, what's the point, right? It's like, ugh.
Yeah. But, you know, it's our job to report the news and the sentiment
100%.
and all that stuff. And so we got to do it. And they show up for us. We show up for them. Right. And so you got stuff like, I mean, honestly, you can just really see. I don't want to just randomly pick one. I don't want to see this. Zora's down 8.6% today. Just the entire market, 4 to 8% there. And that's what we got, guys. That is what we got right now for Bitcoin, Ethereum. But hey, look, we love kicking it with you guys every single day because, you know, we see people like Ryan Boylan, that's in the chat, Albert, and myself too, which, you know, you're going to get to these. So I'll save that for you because that's a pretty good comment there.
All right. Let's go jump into today's roll call and kind of see who is here. Every day, we like to take the first name on that and put it on a list. And the first comment today is the great Webdro. Webdro has 58 wins on the year. Congratulations, Webdro, finishing the year off as he started it. Absolutely awesome. Higher or lower? Do you think Webdro hits 70 wins on the year? He has 58 right now. We have about 40 days left in the year. Do you think
higher?
He gets to 70? Go higher than 70?
Yeah.
I'll
58, right?
It's 58 now. He needs 12 more.
Oh,
in 40 days. Yeah.
Oh, shoot. But I forgot we can't count weekends.
Yeah, no, it's like 5, 10, 15.
How many
20,
days do we have left then?
26 days. You think he wins half?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do the over on that.
All right. I'll take the under. I love Webdro, but that's a lot. It's a lot of work. But shout out to Webdro winning again today. Appreciate you, my friend. But we got a lot of comments here to get into. He says, if that Bitcoin 3-month pattern continues, we'll have to wait until next year for all the new all-time highs. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. And I'm okay with that as long as we get some sort of recovery in December that can bring some cheer to the holidays.
He said, these institutions may deny us Santa rally. I want to cry. Oh, man. 1+ ad is here. ASAP Benji is here. Merlin's lucky. Appreciate you, my friend. Bitcoin is truth. Abstract, the legendary one. Chips and Dip is here. Says markets suck. I agree, man. K99 is here. Satoshi Nakamoto said, what are some catalysts? Why be bullish? Do you have anything? Do you have any catalysts right now? I mean, for me, it's obviously quantitative tightening ending, rate cut.
That's the thing that sucks is that, like, if even with the macro stuff, if we are really hanging on that, we just have to wait, right? And one of the things that we did get was rate cuts. It didn't really have that positive effect that we thought. So yeah, man, probably wait for the opportunities that are gonna just spur up, you know what I mean? One of them was Spark, and I hope that that's still one. I think that could be one. We'll see if it is. We'll see.
Spindrift says, what's going on? Same, man. Nothing changed. Vader time is here. Glasshopper says, no spot, only trading. But then he says, except Tau. He is spot on Tau. And we do have some Tau news to kind of get into in a bit soon here too. No says hello. Ryan Bolin is here. We got Eva. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here from Twitch. We got a Twitch watcher, which is cool.
Let's go.
Super fan. The legendary super fan is here. Tanasha is here. Who else? We got Albert Amari. Appreciate you, my friend. Really appreciate you, Albert, coming in here. He said, I think 2026 will be a bear, but then 2027, 28 will be very bullish. We'll see. I am actually kind of bullish on 2027. I'm not gonna lie. I think we might have an upward momentum year that no one's expecting going into 2028, and 2028 being that left translated cycle. Ryan Bolin says developers are looking for rules on paper before they feel safe. I don't blame them. Yeah, that could be too. Everyone could be waiting. That could be a catalyst that maybe we're both just downplaying a little bit too much, being that the market structure bill that Coinbase is pushing for. Myself says 2023 Bitcoin ecosystem rally was special but short-lived and kind of under the radar. There was less than 100K wallets. That is true.
There was less than 100K wallets, but there was a lot of money that was flowing in that on-chain economy for Bitcoin. Which people, the situation was that people didn't expect it to do what it did. Except for the people that probably have like really big imaginations and dreams, and that can be a double-edged sword, like us. we were just like, if fungibles do take off on Bitcoin, because that's what got me over there. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't the ordinals, but it did make me love ordinals in a different, look at NFTs differently for sure. But the BRC20s was what got me over there. And then people were late from like Solana and other ecosystems. And that's when the liquidity really flowed. You got to remember, you had Ordi, Sats, both went to $1 billion. Ordi went to $1.5 billion market cap in 2023.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is crazy.
100%. It is 100%. Supervan says, congrats, Webdro. We got Paula here 2 days in a row. Thanks so much, Paula. She says, I love Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is not the only coin around. Opportunities are everywhere. She said,
very true.
IDL did 49% overnight. Bear bullish, I stay wolfish. Wolfish. All right, I love it. I love. See, you are right though. If you're in the market every single day and your whole job is to find runners, you could probably find them. Do you think we could do that? You think we could find the start net of day?
I mean, well, I mean,
day
you
trade
have
this
to.
stuff.
I mean, you have to, like right now, for example, a way to approach that would be privacy, right? Had been, I'm not saying today necessarily because privacy had been running for a while, right? But like, let's say like even 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, right? You know that Zcash is starting to pick up, right? Then you're kind of like, okay, then let me get into Dash a little bit and some of this, secondary plays, those type of situations. The other stuff, like, I think you got to really be screening news a lot because some of those will hit off of news. ICP kind of hit off of Caffeine AI being released, and then everybody's saying finally ICP's running, right? But it's which, if you look at how traditional stocks, there's a correlation there that's starting to happen a bit, right? To where if you're just constantly news screening, you'll find some of those pops.
No, you're right. You're right. If you're paying attention, if you're looking at the market every single day, maybe that's what I got to do. You know what I mean? Start with $1,000 and just try to find tomorrow's runner. Right. I think I spent enough time looking at these damn markets that I could probably find.
The thing is, and it's a different type of thought process of a runner, right? Now you're looking at kind of legacy runners. Like, what's the legacy runner, right? Like, what is established already? Because that's where big money is putting their money into. They're not putting anything into anything new other than something that's still, it might be new, but it's really established, like Hyperliquid or something like that, right? They're putting it in Zcash. They're putting it in, Starknet. They're putting it in Monero got a little bit of bump, but ICP, stuff like that, that they know that isn't going to go away overnight.
True. So, yeah. And finishing it all out here with the last comment is myself. He says, hard to practice delayed gratification. Dude, I feel like I've been delaying gratification for like 6 years, bro. I don't know. I was like, when does it stop? She said, agree. It's a different game. Completely different game.
Yeah. 2023 delayed gratification, though, was tough. I'll tell you, that was tough, right? Because if you played that, like we talked about this, if you played 2023 like it was a bull run, like the same way, you would have done better rather than saying, okay, these assets will carry over into the halving year, and then the actual bull run, they'll be worth like way more, right? So that's where it gets tricky. Problem. That's where it gets tricky. It gets really tricky. And so I think the space is starting to change into where you got to play the opportunity for that specific time period. And if and then you take your profit from that, and you'll have your gains. And if some of those assets survive outside of that to continue on, you can always re-enter. Like paying more for an asset because you took profit at a specific time in the past. I'm learning to disassociate those two things, because it's not what you had. You used to tell me this actually a lot. It's not what I have yesterday. It's what I have today. And you got to disassociate what you paid for something when it was cheaper and what you're getting into in the future, because your profit is totally a variable outside of that. So
100%. Last week doesn't matter. How much you started with, how much, whatever your portfolio was last Monday doesn't matter. It matters what your portfolio is tomorrow, right? So, and that's the game that I personally play. Paula says, "Yup, that let's not sleep through a bear ever again." 100%. There's opportunities. You got to find them for sure. Well, speaking of opportunities, I do have an opportunity right here that I think we've been following this for a while. I think we first got into Tau stuff. I want to say like February or March. But Tau subnets tokens are coming to base. Project Rubicon allows users to buy subnet tokens through Aerodrome Finance, and we do know Aerodrome is Coinbase's basically DEX at this point. You can buy through Coinbase. You can buy DeFi products like some of these tokens. But shout out to this group of people, the General Tau Ventures, or they call themselves GTA Ventures, which I thought was funny. But yeah, so these guys are putting this project together called Project Rubicon, and you're basically taking subnet tokens and you're bridging them to base. But these tokens are liquid staking, so you're actually still earning. So right now, if you have any token that's on, let's just say Tau Stats, you go to Tau Stats, for instance, and you have any of these subnets, Chutes, Lium, Airfine, right? And you tokenize them. The problem for me, when I was originally thinking about tokenizing these, I was like, well, I'm not getting the daily payouts. So just holding these you're technically liquid staking Tau. You're earning more of, if you hold chutes every day, you're earning more and more chutes, right? It's liquid staking. And I was afraid, like, why would I take that to Solana? Why would I take that to Base when I'm no longer getting my rewards, right? It's pointless. The whole reason of being in these is to get rewards, because there is emissions of 8%. So every day there's every year there's 8% more chutes, right? It's a lot of inflation when it comes to it. But if you are holding chutes, you're getting part of that emissions. And I want to continue to get that. But now with Project Rubicon, they're going to be taking it there, and you're actually going to be liquid staking. So you're actually going to be earning just the same way you normally would. So they're actually taking the whole concept and bringing it over to Base.
And are people but is it going to make trading these tokens in a liquid environment possible as well? Like, will there be outside participants that can trade these tokens?
They're adding liquidity.
Okay, that's cool. But man, I just did the math on Chutes. So it's sitting at $94 million market cap currently, which obviously is the top subnet token. But man, that's pretty solid for the market conditions that we're in right now. And kind of the friction, because there is some friction in terms of trading these. It's not like ordinals. You don't have to do that.
It's gotten better. It's gotten a million times better now. So they, like, remember before you had to do this way? Now there's actual dexes now.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So I mean, man, this was probably one of the only ecosystems to where it was like, if you bought and hold when the subnets first came out. Well, I don't remember what Chutes was when it first came out, because I think it was wasn't it like 20 million? You're still looking at a 5x or something though.
Yeah, it came out. So it started super high because there was like token
and then
circulation.
it dropped to like 7, but then worked its way back up too. So like if you had to play that, no one would have known how to play that perfectly unless you were like deep into like a part of the project founders and stuff like that group or whatever. But if you did play it properly or the perfect way, then you wait for the dump initially when they first launched, get it at 7, and then you ride it up to I'm sure its all-time high was higher than 94 million.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is going to be big, and this is the type of stuff that that the runes people should have been kind of working on, right? And maybe Leonidas is doing something now, but working on with the base teams and stuff like that. We'll see how this goes. People are bullish on Tau, and for good reason, right? AI is obviously a big part of this industry, and they have all of the narratives that are for a booming like max supply, the subnets. You have to use Tau to be able to do things on Tau, and stuff like that, and the AI compute and working with miners, by the way, which a lot of Bitcoin miners that are medium and smaller size, they have transitioned to generating AI compute and selling that, right? So this industry is only going to grow.
Yeah, and to your point, you kind of mentioned runes. These subnets are technically the same as runes. It's an off-chain indexer. You're not indexing with Tau, right? It's an off-chain indexer. You're doing everything on-chain looks like Tau, right? Because technically they're little pieces of Tau that are indexed that are, this is Chutes, or this is this. And when you're getting, when the new Tau comes online, because every day, people are mining it and earning it, depending on that Tau comes in as normal Tau, but it gets indexed as these tokens, right? So it's very similar to how runes trade it. It's just we didn't have the brightest minds like Tau has, because Tau has a foundation that is, pretty much hiring these people and paying them, and that's not something that Bitcoin had. You didn't have, like, Bitcoin Core was that, but they're just like, we're gold. We don't want to be a part of that. But if you had a foundation who wants to move your industry forward, like Tau does with these alpha tokens, this is what you get.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to kind of like, how much stake do you have in the ecosystem and foundation, if there's a crossover too, right? So an example of that is like the foundation reached out to one of our friends, people we know. I consider him a friend, Mark Jeffrey, right? A lot of people know who Mark Jeffrey is. He's a content creator, but also author and all that stuff, and basically got him to work over there, right? So someone that's in the space in crypto Twitter has been pulled into that world. And you have Billy, is it Billy Siebert? Or
Barry Silbert from Grayscale.
Okay, so he's heavily involved with the ecosystem as well. right? In terms of like subnets and stuff like that. They actually have a what was it called? One of the curating companies that curate builders and stuff, and that comes out of there, and they have their own stuff. So it's a VC type of approach, but still, like, you have skin in the game, then you're going to try to push the ecosystem further. I think that's where Bitcoin ecosystem gets a little bit kind of, where's the skin in the game? Where's the foundation? Where's the, moving ordinals and all these things forward? They're doing it kind of individually off of offering their time and their money. And a lot of people put a lot of effort in it, but it's not almost kind of like this joint one unit moving together like how Tau seems to be.
Yeah, 100%. I've got a comment here. Jesset says this show is kind of shit. Well, I appreciate you watching, even though we're shit. And thank you so much for commenting, because it definitely helps the algo for us. So thank you so much, Jesset. And then Albert Amari says 2008 is the end game for crypto. We still have another chance of making generational wealth. But I actually agree with you, man. I 100%. I think 2008 is going to be the final year of, potentially for a couple of years. I think I think we eventually get back into a normal cycle. But I think 2028 could be like a death sentence for crypto. But we'll see. Glasshopper says, I don't have any subnets yet, still researching, but I do stake all my Tau on Root. Yeah, but the problem now is they dropped the Root staking down to 2%. It was like 9 in February, and now it's down to 2%. So they're kind of like forcing you. And now actually the subnets actually get a ton. It's like 14% of the Tau or whatever it is.
Yes, it's based on each individual one though, right?
Yeah, depending 100%. Yeah, so you can check it out here on the emissions. So Choots is getting 8%, right? What's name's only getting 2% right now, the Root, and 8% is going to Choots. So the more tokens that are being held, the more emissions you get. So the more and more you're bullish on a certain token, the more that token goes up by market cap, the more emissions that token gets, which is wild. The whole system is awesome. But it's definitely different than anything we've ever seen before. Superfan says some of the VCs in the Tau ecosystem have been cutthroat on Twitter in the recent past. Kind of fun to watch them call each other out. Yeah, there is a lot of PvP going on when it comes to builders. So they and Mark Jeffrey actually good guy brought him up, but he actually brings them on and they talk shit about each other. It's pretty fun. It's funny. They do. Yeah. 100% super fan. 100%.
That's funny. Yeah, I need to look into that. It's probably entertaining. And then
it is. Sports Tensor SN41 is now on base officially. So this is the first one to kind of add liquidity. That's the thing too, is like if you're let's just say for Choots, for instance, but if you don't want to add liquidity, if Choots doesn't want to add liquidity and actually bridge over, add whatever you want to do, whether it's USDC or Ethereum, you got to actually physically add that to Airdrome. So depending on, we're gonna see that.
Well, I mean, they earn a lot though from the subnets. So the fact that they can use that to start the liquidity, right? I mean, if they did it right and they were able to, because like subnets is a way for these teams to raise runway and do things with this Tau that they're earning, right? And in my opinion, that's one of the things that they can add the Tau to, right? Is liquidity to get it going, because it's going to be better for you in the long run to have established token on base that is a complete utility type of subnet, right? Getting this sports betting data and stuff like that over.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Aster. So they will launch a machi mode off Machi Big Brother next week. When you get liquidated, you get more points. Will this drive more people in, do you think? This is actually the post itself right here. They have Machi Big Brother, and Machi Big Brother actually tweeted that CZ. He says, CZ, why you do me like that, brother? I thought that was pretty funny. But Aster, now they're going to give you a rekt mode. But they didn't choose win. They chose Machi. That was pretty funny, yeah.
I wonder if he has some sort of partnership with them, because I mean, to use his name like that, I'm sure there's some sort of agreement there.
So I feel like friends. I think CZ and Machi are friends.
Yeah, probably, but also like they probably talked about this. It's just kind of just theatrics a little bit, on the timeline. But that is funny, utilizing him to. I mean, that's good for him. It's actually good PR for him.
Oh, great, yeah. I mean, he's just a trader, though. He's not like a company or anything, though, right? So that's still good. I guess it's good for
well,
his.
yeah,
his...
it's good for his crypto or his crypto Twitter account, his X account. But also, I mean, I'm sure like he's got like a lot of money. You know, he's been in this game for a while. He did a lot of NFT stuff too, right? Trading NFTs too, because he was a part of the Bored Ape situation when everything was hyped up.
Yeah, he was one of the first traders to, I think, put a Bored Ape as their NFT or their PFP. All right. Kraken just secured $800 million in new funding and is now valued at $20 billion as it ramps up for global expansion. And it comes out that they secretly filed for an IPO with a date that is hidden. They are not saying the day they want to go, but experts are saying that it's going to be the first week of January is kind of what they're shooting for. But Citadel was actually the leader in this investment here. So Citadel backing Kraken now. What do you think?
They're getting their grubby fingers on, infrastructure, which I'm not shocked by it, right? Robinhood hot, brand new, Citadel big partner. We just want the data, right? So we'll pay you for the data of these traders. Oh, no fees for traders for Robinhood. How's that possible? We know now. So
Citadel.
I think Citadel's gonna be, they're finding everywhere they can get their grubby fingers on our industry and infrastructure of our industry. But hey, look, that doesn't mean opportunities aren't going to be there. There's going to be opportunities there. You just got to, play it probably like how TradFi does a bit. But in terms of raising 800 million, big news. I wonder what the market's going to be like in January, because if the market does get aggressive, this is going to be a very, very popular IPO. Price is going to reflect that. Market cap is going to reflect that. But if it's a downtime, it could be a big opportunity if it's not. And I just don't see it not doing well. I think it's going to start off well or whatever, and obviously going to have a drawback at some point a little bit, and then have longevity as it'll be kind of next to Coinbase and these other centralized exchanges that go public.
Yeah, 100%. People are saying that this is going to be half the value of Coinbase when it comes out. And if Kraken does all the right things, which it looks like they have been doing, they could be, 75% of Coinbase one day. I think Coinbase still goes up, but I think, Kraken could follow and be like, and it's going to be sectors, right? It's going to be like, if it's kind of like how Pepsi and Coca-Cola moved, they always move together. And, if Coca-Cola has a good earnings report, Pepsi for some reason goes up. And I think you're going to see the same thing kind of with Coinbase and Kraken. It's like if Kraken has a good earnings report, it's going to push Coinbase. Coinbase has a good earnings report, it's going to push Kraken, because it's the same industry at the end of the day. So,
well, you got Gemini too, which
exactly.
Well, they have a bit of a different base, I think, but obviously it's the same product type, right, and style. But you do have some pretty big monsters in our space with that category. We'll see which ones thrive.
100%. Revolut taps Polygon as its primary crypto rails, powering payments, trading, staking, and over $690 million in processed volume. So Revolut is actually the European version of Robinhood. I didn't know this until doing some research, but they are now coming on chain, and they're going to be using Polygon. We know Robinhood chose Arbitrum as its layer, and looks like Revolut's going to be creating potentially like an L2 on top of Polygon, or they just might be using Polygon. It wasn't clear, but it said this one of the two options. They can actually create a fork of Polygon and be a Polygon L2, or like an L3, I guess you could say, because Polygon technically is an Ethereum L2. But or they're going to be using Polygon just like everyone else. But huge for Polygon, because Polygon, dude, it is beaten down so bad.
Yeah, but they have all the integration.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
And they're all quiet too. They're quiet until the announcement, right? And so I think Polygon is going to be a big infrastructure type of chain and stuff like that. But while you're looking that up, Paula Sereno says the data, and then she says, but isn't user data already available on chain? Yes. I was just giving the example of whenever Citadel did partner with Robinhood, obviously that was a centralized Web2 company, and so that data wasn't available on chain, and so they had leverage. Robinhood did to sell that to Citadel, right? But when it comes to them leading the charge for the IPO with Kraken, they're also centralized. So their data that they have on their app, but at the same time, that's probably not what they're going to go for, Citadel. I'm sure this is just going to be a regular investment in them for long term. But they could, look for anything to try to get an edge. That's just how they are. Kenny Griffin wouldn't put anything past him, I would say.
Nope, not at all. What was the ticker for Polygon before? It's now Pol, P-O-L. What was the ticker before? Matic, right? M-A-T-I-C.
Matic, yeah, Matic.
I found the ticker, but it's like apparently they just changed recently to the new ticker Pol. I had no idea they were even called Pol. But yeah, here's the Polygon against Tether, right? So Polygon, man, it is so beaten down. This is one of the coins that I'm seriously bullish on. I mean, it hit $3 in 2021. I mean, this has just been terrible. And this is the bear market low, down to about 36 cents. It is now, no, it's not 77 cents. This is wrong. It's like 30. Let me go back to the original chart. I had the POL USDT because this is telling you the real price of it right now. So it's 14 cents. This is lower. This is so bad. Like, this is so bad. This is just 2025. Polygon's just been dude, and you got Polymarket running on Polygon. You have Courtyard running on Polygon. You have, potentially now Revolt running on Polygon. Polygon, in my opinion, is so undervalued. So undervalued.
Yeah, I'm sitting at $1.4 billion market cap.
Mm-hmm.
You have meme coins that are larger than that, right? And I don't think they care, right? I don't think the founders, Sandeep and whoever the other co-founder is or group of founders, I don't think they care. I think they want to continually have this these infrastructure partnerships to provide service, right, for their chain to the point to where, whatever these kind of commercial contracts might be, I don't know how they're doing these type of situations, but I'm sure that they're making money and that's what they care about. Eventually, if they get to a point to where they're everywhere, I think like the traditional investors will see that. And then, once our space becomes more about revenue, usage, users, those kind of things, then I think Polygon will be, so to your point, I guess, would be they are cheap, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, like, way undervalued. If you're valuing something like Solana as, absolutely, like, what's Solana? I think it's like the market cap of Solana is it's like a couple hundred billion.
Really
right?
High.
Like,
I don't know about that high because I think ETH was like 600 billion. Solana
so I got it right here,
73 billion.
Yeah, and then you got Polygon, right? I mean, it's
1.4.
Yeah, I mean, that's a 70x higher, right? I just think that Polygon
Hyperliquid's a bigger market cap. Litecoin is bigger market cap.
Story Protocol is a bigger market cap, right? That's how undervalued I think Polygon is.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's not even the top 100 anymore. Like, it's wild. So yeah,
but they do. They do things quietly, and then eventually, like, a news article comes out about it. You know what I mean? Like, Solana is like, we just partnered with Western Union. They'll tweet about it, and they're just very loud. And it's almost like it's intentional that Polygon does that, right? Maybe they're just kind of like, hey, we want to just build in the background, and we know once the time is right for us to thrive.
I think that's a terrible approach. I think that's the worst possible scenario.
But if they're making money, doing what they're doing right now, and they're just focused on that, I think in their mindset is like, we don't have to be a part of the hype train, because eventually what will happen is we'll be such an established infrastructure partner that it'll just, big companies, big money will just gravitate towards us.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see with what approach works, but I think the no marketing approach is dumb. I think marketing.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to have marketing, but I think there's
no marketing.
There's a guerrilla marketing, which is all in your face, and then there's the kind of regular, and then obviously the passive, which is very little, which is something that they participate, I think, for themselves. They actually get more marketing from their co-marketing partners that report it to news.
Merlin. Yeah, for sure. Jump to the next thing here. New Hampshire approves and launches the first Bitcoin-backed municipal bond. So Bitcoin-backed bonds can help by lowering borrowing costs, attracting new global buyers, strengthening national reserves, and giving the government a healthier balance sheet as Bitcoin grows in value. Bitcoin-backed bonds reduce interest costs because investors see collateral, bring in demand and from BTC-focused buyers, and raise reserve value as Bitcoin grows, which strengthens the government's bonds. So basically, what New Hampshire is doing here, they're saying, hey, we're going to put out bonds backed by Bitcoin, and so you no longer have to worry about us ever defaulting, because if we did default, that Bitcoin goes to the holders, right? That is the one benefit of Bitcoin-backed bonds, because right now, the U.S. government has never defaulted, right? Never, ever once has it ever defaulted. But, as we get further and further in debt, that actually becomes something we have to start thinking about, you know what I mean? In the sense of not being able to pay the interest rates, because they have to sell more bonds to pay back. It's basically opening up another credit card to pay your debts, right? So it's basically that, but eventually that's going to stop. But having Bitcoin-backed bonds, it's going to be a lot more comfortable for people to kind of get in these bonds, because it's a worst case scenario. I get a chunk of that Bitcoin that is in that bond.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that in the pre-show prep. Is this kind of like a test of the next level at the federal level, right? You see the state, New Hampshire doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be very interesting. What do you think? Do you think this is a solid strategy?
Well, this is what El Salvador does. So El Salvador doesn't have the credit that the United States has, right?
They're building it up, though.
Like that. They are building it up, but they have Bitcoin-backed volcano bonds, where it's like, hey, and all the Bitcoin that is mined by this volcano here is put into this bond, and you can actually, we'll sell you debt, right? We'll pay you a guaranteed 2 to 4%, depending on how much that volcano earns us in Bitcoin. Which is absolutely insane to think about. A volcano Bitcoin bonds, but they exist, and it is working for them because they are earning a lot of money from this. Well, they're actually not earning from this, but they're actually being able to take on, able to borrow using this,
and having good collateral to be able to, make them consistently have buyers, right? And that's the biggest issue that we are dealing with right now, is that our bonds are not attractive. Treasury bonds are not attractive at all, right? And so I don't know if we get into this, but I feel like this is actually in my opinion, I think it's a good use for Bitcoin, right? To show that its value is attractive, right? So people are like willing to go into this other asset, which is a little bit of trickery, because if it falls back, then you have your Bitcoin, right? So we'll see if this plan that Russia keeps screaming out, that the United States is trying to eliminate their debt through Bitcoin and crypto and stable coins, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. Maybe that's part of the whole year being so blah. And then once the things start to kick in, it gets better. We'll see.
100%. All right, let's get to our next segment, which is news from the trenches, where I send Yagobi into the trenches, and he kind of lets me know what is happening, what is going on. But we do have a new product here from Phantom Wallet, which sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's Phantom decided to drop a terminal like everybody else, right? And it made sense to me, though, because they do have perps that I think they're partnered with Hyperliquid, I believe. So if you go to trade.phantom.com, you can see what the terminal is like. And actually, I can share my screen here. Let me pull that up here, so you can see right here, right? It's like it's basically like Axiom, GMGN. I would say more like Axiom, right? So you have your Discover. You can go to launches. What's going to bring up like the meme launch pads, right? You have all the same thing. The 3 sections: new, migrating, migrated, and then you have the tokens, right, as well. So it goes through all the popular Solana tokens here, and then you go to perps, right? And if you go to perps here, you can see, that you can trade perps, like almost kind of like Hyperliquid, right? So there's so many different pairs that you can trade here, right? So you have the most this is the part that's kind of funny, like the most gambling aspects of our space. You have both of them in one place. So if you don't want to gamble, probably just not going to interest you, right? But for the trenches, the people are definitely interested in something like this. And you do have to deposit Sol for the meme coins, and I believe it's Arbitrum USDC for the perps, but you can have it all in one house. That's the biggest part of that. And really, Phantom making this step, I think, it made sense, right? Because they want to kind of keep their brand relevant and things like that, right? And they want to make fees from both, but probably want to push their perps even more. And so it just made a lot of sense. So that is pretty much the biggest news that came out of the trenches. Other than that, like if you look, on Dex Screener or GMGN or another tool that you use, the hottest coin has been 6-7 from Pump Fun. And
6-7.
Yeah, 6-7, right? Like in
My
the
son
wild,
does this all the time.
the wild part of that is that this token launched like months ago and kind of died off. And so when it died, so it's sitting at 30 million right now. It got all the way to 45 million, by the way, yesterday. And 3 days ago, this was at 7 million, whenever they first started to pump it. But 6-7, the Solana meme coin 6-7, originally the one that did well was on Bonk, and it got to like 20 million, and then it started to retrace. And then after like all this kind of, everybody's depressed about the markets, and Tolly, one of the co-founders of Solana, was like, wouldn't it be interesting if everybody just buys the same coin, someone launches the same coin, and then someone tries to vamp it with the old same coin, right? And it doesn't work, and everybody's just like, see, this is our problem. And all of a sudden, cabals with big money decide to pull 6-7 out from nowhere. I think the market cap might have been like 100K. I don't know, to be honest, but it was very low, and just started pumping it hard. And so you go from 6-figure market cap to 7 million to 11 million. But the crazy thing is so many people were sidelined because they weren't expecting it. The cabal can pick what they want to pump. And imagine that I think at this time, 6-7 on Bonk was around 3 million, maybe around there. Imagine you had invested in that, right? And now all of a sudden, the pump fund 6-7 is vamping you. And so that coin goes to like 300K. And now 6-7 is past the, it's around 30 million. But again, it did get to 45. Now it's dropped to 30 million. And it's just, I guess it's something that it was exciting because the cabal got to experience it. No, not really. Regular everyday people that gotten wrecked by Pump Fund were sidelined on that for the most part, right? So I think the trenches are still in really bad shape. I think that until we get a risk on environment, they're going to continually be in bad shape. And we did have someone from America.fun on in Ogle, and people are trying different things. They're trying to win the trust back from retail, because I'll tell you, the people that are trading the 6-7 coin, these cabal groups, sure, they have some good size, but the smaller size is just people that are within the KOL groups and all those stuff, not regular retail. That is not who's trading that.
Oh, interesting. Do you think Pump Fun had anything to do with pumping that 6-7 coin? Because it seems like maybe
I think there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes, because I don't think that volume that's happening on Pump Fun right now, I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know where the liquidity is coming from across the board. How are they bonding so many 97% loser coins? Like, you get what I'm saying? So people talk about Pump Funds putting $1 million of their revenue into their coin, but yet the coin's going down. And you and I did some research, and that's not the case. They're not putting $1 million in there, but they are buying back, and it's still going down. And so maybe they're not buying back every day because they're having to make it seem like their platform is still lively, whenever no platform should be looking super lively at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. But they do say that even in a recession, the casino's usually still popping, right? So it's like,
liquor stores
really
too.
Knows. Liquor stores too, 100%. Final thing here, Vitalik Buterin warned of at Devconnect conference that Curve cryptography could be broken by quantum computing before the 2008 U.S. presidential election, urging Ethereum to upgrade the quantum resistant within 4 years. He also stated the future of innovation should shift to layer 2s, wallets, privacy tools, rather than core protocol. He's basically saying that, like, don't build on Ethereum, build on these L2s, build tools for, crypto and stuff like that. But I feel like Vitalik is somebody who's just like, he's just got rich and stopped trying. I really do. I really feel that way. I feel like he's just not into innovation anymore. He's just like, you know what I mean? He's just like kind of on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I mean, and he doesn't seem like the type of person that cares too much to be like in the spotlight, right? In the limelight. I think he has fun with it sometimes. Like whenever he did that weird NFT series with Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, remember that? He did like something with that. But like whenever he's back in the news now, it's almost kind of like he wants to be controversial a little bit, not to be in the spotlight necessarily, but just to kind of, I guess put his opinion in there. But like with the whole quantum part, right? Like I've always said that that's probably something to prepare for, right? But like, why wasn't he pushing for this like 6 months ago, whenever quantum was like the hot topic, right? Like everybody was talking about it. And I mean, he lives off of the foundation, right? And his net worth is billions, right?
Yeah, he's a billionaire. He has like over $1 billion in ETH. He sells down constantly though.
But the L2 argument though, to build on L2, not L1, he's always been pretty consistent with that. He's always said, hey, we want Ethereum to be the place where all the L2s settle. And I think he's just trying to, have the long-term vision of like Ethereum being heavily used by a bunch of different L2s, and there's going to be like tons of L2s out there,
Yeah, and Ethereum is the gas token for most of the L2s, right? They all have their own token, but it's governance only. So, I mean, ETH, the token itself, will always have value, right? If you think it has value on potentially, Ethereum, it does, because it has the governance and everything. But I mean, it's also being used. You need it everywhere, and it's usually the biggest token in all the LP pools for every single DEX that is being built on Ethereum L2. So I don't know the quantum computer part. I just think that it's something that it's like it's very similar to how people are saying AI is going to take your job, right? Like it's going to happen, right? But whether that's 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, you have plenty of time to prepare for that, right? Like I just feel like it's the same thing there. It's just like it's that boogeyman in the room. Anytime someone has something negative to say about Bitcoin, well, it's like, oh, there's going to be quantum computing. You have to remember, quantum computing is a bigger threat to the banking system than it is crypto. It's gonna be so much easier to hack a bank account and just add, a few zeros to your balance. It says, say you have 100 grand, you can add 3 zeros, and now you have 100 million. It'll be a lot easier to do it that way than it would be to kind of hack Bitcoin. I think where quantum computer can come in very, very early is being put in these miners. I think if you can speed up these miners to where your hash power is just kind of beating everyone else, I think it's a bigger threat to miners than it is a bigger threat to kind of hacking these wallets.
Yeah, I mean, but the miners kind of are who they are at this point, right? It's like just the largest are surviving, the other ones are pretty much leaving, right?
But that's what I mean, though. Quantum computing could take a small miner, and just with the machines that they have, they could speed up to be passing some of the larger miners just because of quantum computing. I think it's a bigger threat.
But I think that the larger miners would have access to that kind of stuff first, though. You know what I mean? Because of their connections and those kind of things. But I do think sometimes we do talk a little bit too far into the future, because I don't, they say 2030. Well, let's kind of see something miraculous first. Like, let's find some cures for cancer using quantum computing and find some solutions to some of those things. And if I start to see that kind of stuff in the news, to where, okay, the Willow chip was used in this, quantum computer that has solved, I don't know, Lou Gehrig's disease or something like that. Then I'm going to be like, oh shit. Like, it's like, what's going on? Like, I hope all the chains and stuff are ready because they just solved this issue, right? But I'm not seeing anything like even come close to any of those kind of things yet in the headlines. So.
And that's the thing too, is like as soon as that stuff happens, the US government's going to step in and they're going to say, hey, Willow Chip, we need you to fix the algorithm on the banking system, right? We need you and then when that happens, BlackRock's like, all right, let's fix it on Bitcoin too. Here guys, here's the data you guys need to fix this, right? BlackRock, I mean, they're a bit large, big holder of Bitcoin. They're not, if the banking system is getting upgraded, Bitcoin's going to get upgraded just with it, right? The smaller chains, though, you're right. The smaller chains I'd be worried about, the Polygon wallets and stuff down the line. But I think for Bitcoin, Ethereum, the top 15, 20 chains, I think they're going to be completely fine.
Yeah, I think we got to wait and see kind of where things go with it. And Stan says, why aren't projects buying quantum computers to protect against other quantum computers? Because it's not easy just like, get a quantum computer, right? They're very delicate in terms of the conditions that they have to be in temperature wise. A qubit won't operate unless it's in the right temperature, right? And so I'm not a expert at all with quantum computers. I do love talking about them though, and trying to learn as much as I can. But I just don't think, see, that's another thing. I don't think we're at that stage to where, the access to these things, whenever Google announced that the Willow Chip had solved that problem that a standard supercomputer would take, I forgot what word they used, so zillion years or something crazy like that. That was also configured to have that outcome. So it's a very difficult situation that it was able to do that, but it was also kind of like I guess kind of curated to be able to have that performance. Now, I mean, the fact that it still was able to do that is huge. Is huge because now can you transition into different problems, right? Because quantum computers, I was under the impression before that basically can solve any issue. No, not any issue, but specific issues that still weren't solvable in a short period of time can be now with that type of approach. But it's not every issue can be solved all of a sudden with quantum computers. That's not, from my understanding of research is how it works.
Yeah, 100%. I'm more worried about, quantum computing in a Tesla robot more than I'm worried about Bitcoin getting hacked, right? Quantum computing in a Tesla robot, I mean, they can wipe us out. They can wipe out the entire human race, right? Or create, this new culture where every, I mean, they can at that point with quantum computing plus, a Tesla robot, I mean, they can basically become sentient, right? So I'm more worried about that, honestly. But Superfan has a point. He says quantum is the boogeyman. It's so right. It's still at the stage of a multi-million-dollar giant. And operating at sub-zero temperatures, so basic math wrong. Potentially there's lots of problems, lots of promise, right? At the same time, like fusion. He says it's still a NASA and Yale, Harvard level. Albert Amari says miners would easily reach consensus on an issue like quantum resistance, since it's a very important security concern. Yeah, I believe that too. I believe the miners are gonna, and that's the thing too, is you can always roll back. I mean, it's not a promising thing, but you can always roll back the chain if something does happen a little bit, right? And then fix the problem and then continue. So there's always that option as well. I mean, it's not that's a doomsday option for sure, but there's always that as well, right? You can fork the blockchain and take it back to a certain block height before something happened. So the problem is guessing seeds and private keys. Yeah, guessing, but we'll see. But shout out to you guys at the comments, bro. Everyone loves the quantum computing. Agent Hustle will develop agents to defend against quantum computers. I hope Jake's ready for that. Superfan said, I did a job for Yale University. It's very theoretical in the terms of complex operations. I mean, I did a job for Yale's quantum computing lab. Damn, dude. Superfan. He got some quantum experience. Myself says we'll have quantum computing devices in our pockets into the next future global crisis.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't want to go through a COVID situation. That was horrible.
I think the next one is from sentient robots, though.
I mean, sentient. that's a whole we will already be quantum computing devices in our pockets whenever that happens. Yeah, will they probably to protect us from radar? There's the sentient AI robot around your corner.
Oh man,
I don't want to deal with anything sentient that's not human. you know, that can have emotions and judge on its, you know, opinion and of what decisions to make. We'll be nuking each other at that point, not us, them.
All right, guys, let's get out of here. I really appreciate you guys, man. Absolutely amazing show. Even the days where it feels like death in crypto, you guys still come out here, make it out every single day. We got some newer people in here too. I just really want to thank you guys, Paula, 100%. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Albert, man, super fan. Webdro, Stan, Mo, ICP. I just really appreciate every single one of you guys, man. Absolutely amazing. Thank you guys for coming out and hanging with us each and every day.
Absolutely. Without you guys, we could not do this. And Mo says the biggest ruin by market cap launched on Odin.fun. Was that tell us? That tells us that people like crypto burgers. I want to try one of those. And Albert Amani says, I'm sure. Okay, there's a lot of comments just coming in at the end. We love it. We love the energy. But yeah, he says we'll develop something quantum resistant. We agree. We agree with that security concern. Have a good one to everyone in the chat. Yeah, all you guys, we appreciate each and every one of you guys. Without y'all, we couldn't do this, but also without our partners, we couldn't do it. So if you could check them out, we'd be greatly appreciative. Emblem Vault is the interoperability layer of the Bitcoin ecosystem. If you are looking to jump your Bitcoin NFTs or ordinals over to Ethereum, you got to use Emblem Vault. They've been doing it since 2021 with Rare Pepe's, counterparty NFTs, but now you can do it with ordinals as well. You can jump over your Taproot wizard to Ethereum and take a loan out against it on the Gandhi application, which is the largest borrowing and lending application on Ethereum for NFTs. So make sure you guys are checking them out and using them to bridge over to ETH. But they're going to open this up to other layers and environments and ecosystems. Solana is one of those that are on the roadmap. And speaking of Solana, they have the best AI product in all of Solana called AgentHustle.ai. There is a free subscription level where you can test out the product. You only get a certain minimum number of prompts, but you can test it out and ask him, hey, find me some gems in the Solana ecosystem. He'll bring back a couple options for you and why he thinks these are solid. You can also do conditional trades with Agent Hustle, as there's a conditional search engine built in Agent Hustle. So you can set buy and sell limit orders on meme coins, any SPL coins. But that is not it. They also integrated Hedera Hashgraph for Agent Hustle. So Agent Hustle is the main AI agent over on HBAR. You can ask Hustle to find you the newest and greatest projects over there, and he'll bring back research information for you. You can do conditional trades as well in Hedera with Agent Hustle, which he is going to be the main agent over there to kind of guide you through their launch pad over there called Meme Job as well. Get in early and learn before the meme culture really develops over there. But there's also other subscription levels, so where you can get more tool sets and stuff. You got to go into the subscription tab, and you can pay with the Hustle token, which is the single token that powers the entire Emblem ecosystem. You get a discount. I believe it's around 30% if you use that token, so make sure you check that out. And lastly, there's another product, the last product in this ecosystem called Migrate.fun. This team has been crushing it. If you launched a token in the Solana ecosystem on a launchpad like Pump Fund or Bonk, and you want to migrate to the opposite launchpad or another launchpad, you can use Migrate.fun to help guide you through that process. Those liquidity tokens are stuck in the LPs, but they can help guide you to get those out. Obviously, your community needs to be on board with that, but they are in their second cohort right now. The first cohort went really smooth. The second one had big brands in there like Pay AI that uses the X402 protocol, right? So if you're interested, reach out to them at migrate.fun or emblem.vision and see if you can get into the next spot that's open, maybe in the next cohort or the next available spot there. Head over to emblem.vision to learn about all the products I just broke down for you in the ecosystem over there. And then Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin strength through the power of AI, as they have their Wizard version 2.0 that guides you through Merlin Chain's ecosystem. I don't know if you had the, oh, there it is. And basically, it can do DeFi functionalities for you on Merlin Chain. It can do swaps and staking, but it also can do stuff outside of the ecosystem. It can swap for Solana tokens or BNB tokens, as long as you have some Merlin Chain Bitcoin in your wallet there. But going back to the ecosystem, it can swap for you with using Merlin Swap, or it can stake. And speaking of staking, they have a proof of stake security model that they use for their chain, and you can participate in 3 ways. The first way is staking Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin. You can earn up to 21% and as low as 8%. The first staking vault ended September 30th, and they got 17% APR for staking Bitcoin. So you get Bitcoin back, by the way. So really exciting stuff there. The second staking vault is open until January 8th. So you got to get in there as quick as possible. Not financial advice, but if you want to, take advantage of how many days are left in that process there. And then there's two other ways to participate in the staking vaults with the Merlin Chain token. The first one is the flexible day-to-day. You earn 15% APR. You can claim your rewards daily. You can roll them up into a compound interest strategy if you want, sell them, keep them in your wallet, whatever you want to do. It's up to you, right? And then the last option is the bonded option, which is a 6-month lockup, but you earn 45% APR with this one. You can claim your rewards daily, but the tokens, the Merlin Chain tokens, are actually locked up for 6 months. So just know that. And we thank you guys so much for checking out our partners.
Yep. Great job, man. As always, I guess I have a few more minutes and wouldn't mind checking out onchainrevolution.io. We have some of the best articles in crypto. Check us out, guys. We have this brand new article that just dropped. Bitcoin's 30% pullbacks multiple times each cycle. Definitely check this article out. It'll kind of walk you through exactly what we're dealing with right now and let you guys know that we've dealt with this every single cycle. This is only halfway through at this point, but definitely read this before you guys sell anything. It'll actually walk you guys through the process of what's happening. 3 to 4 minute reads. You guys can check them all out here, America.fun, and so many more. Check them all out there. NordVPN, highly recommend it. I use it every single day. Make sure you guys use our site to buy it, though. If you go to NordVPN, they're going to charge you $10 a month. Use our site, they're going to charge you $3.99 a month. Lock it in for 2 years. Set it, forget it. You get an extra 3 months free. So you actually get 27 months for the price of, I think it's like $70. Lock it in. Forget about it. Forget you even have it. Because it'll just be there working in the background. I set mine to Italy. For some reason, Italy is like one of the top servers there. And I'm able to use stuff like Hyperliquid. I'm able to use MEXC. I'm able to use pretty much anything in crypto that geo-blocks you because of your location. And that's not fair. It's not your country that's blocking you. It's the website itself. And over here in the US, privacy is a right. You're allowed to have private. There's nothing illegal about a VPN. Get yours today. And right now we have a great deal on Ledgers. So we have partnered with Ledger to be their affiliate. So you guys will help out the show if you do purchase any of these items. They got some of the best stuff here. There was someone recently who was using like a Cold Pal or something, and he had XRP, and he didn't realize that he was actually using the hot wallet version of it instead of the cold wallet version. You won't get those issues over on Ledger. They do it the right way. And they make sure that you know exactly what you're doing. Head over here, get yourself a Ledger, get yourself a hardware wallet. Check everything out here at onchainrevolution.io. Remember, guys, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 4 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys. Until tomorrow.
Peace.
OnChain Revolution roll call. Market recap. You're not bullish enough. No. You're not bullish enough. No. Look at the price go. Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear tracks. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and marching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction. OnChain.